Welcome to Tech Smarter. This is the show where we talk with the operators, the innovators, and the investors who are shaping the future of aging services. I'm your host, Abbie Richie, the tech guru at the Smarter Service. Today's episode is sponsored by Leading Age Arizona, and this show is brought to you by the Smarter Service. Now, if you are a senior living operator and you're struggling with that tech piece when it comes to your residents and keeping them up to date on any scams and frauds and how to use their devices, reach out to us. Go ahead and DM me today on LinkedIn and let us help you. Now, I want to go ahead and bring my guest on to the show. Welcome, Brian Baxter, to Tech Smarter. I'm thrilled to have you here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. So excited.
You are so welcome. Now, I know that you've been in senior living for about 15 years, but for anyone who doesn't know you, could you just share with us how you entered into the industry and what you're doing today?
Absolutely. So my journey has been a long one at this point, but so fruitful. I had a best friend who kind of pulled me in unexpectedly into the program, and honestly, it's never left me ever since. The benefits of being able to touch so many families' lives has just kind of ingrained in me, and now I'm loving working in Florida. I initially started in Pennsylvania, but sunny Florida has been amazing. And I'm working in sales at this point with Truewood and loving every moment of trying to help these families get the right fit for their loved one.
I just love that. You know, so many people I talk to while I'm interviewing them or meeting them at conferences have gotten drawn into senior living one way or another and just found that there's such a deep heart connection there with the families, with the residents. And, you know, for me, I found myself working with older adults in technology, and it just felt like I'm back with my grandparents in some way, and absolutely loved it. So I do feel that the older generation is the very best generation out there. And within the communities, like, there's so much technology, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The various pieces of technology, your tech stack, what you've been able to incorporate at the community that you've seen really impact residents. And I want to start with something that I've just seen take over in such a caring way, and that is Safely You, which is using AI to detect falls without active monitoring or wearable pendants. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of experiences seeing those pull cords in residents' homes, in the bathrooms, and in the public and within the communities. And I want to ask you, how does Safely You, so it's passive detection, change the way staff responds compared to those traditional pull cords?
Well, I mean, honestly, Safely U has been an amazing addition to our memory care. The biggest problem when it comes to an emergent event, when it usually involves a fall, it is going to be, can they reach that cord? Do they know to hit the button? Do they know what's going on? Especially in memory care, the level of disorientation varies dramatically. So there are some residents that will know that they're in pain, they'll know what's going on, and they'll kind of have an idea that they need to do something, but they won't always know. And usually that's the differentiating factor between going into memory care and not, is knowing when to hit that button. Through the years, at least that's what I've used. And when they don't know how to hit the button and they do fall and they're in a bad situation where they just can't hit the button because they're that hurt, Safely You comes into play. Their AI monitors the camera. It's not continuous live stream. We have the ability to do a little 10-second check-in just to make sure that they're okay in their apartments. But ultimately, there's no need for a pull cord. There's no need for a pendant. There is the ability for the AI to look at the video, watch the video as it's kind of scrolling through, identify a fall, and let us know through calls, through pages, through email that, hey, you have a resident on the floor, or it looks like you have a resident on the floor. Go check them out and see what's going on. And then we also are tracking how many people are and who's going in to the apartments when. So when my staff are going in and out of the apartment for check on the resident, it's also following through with that. So that way we can find out exactly how much care they're utilizing or what they're going to be utilizing that care for, what time they're doing. And it just allows us to really better plan. But truly, not the ability to not pull the pull cord and us to get in that apartment within 10 minutes. I mean, that's just a profound difference between what we're used to and trying to just be reactionary, and just trying to kind of guess when this is and when that's not. But we have the trends now with that information.
It's so meaningful and so helpful. I love it when technology innovates in this way, exactly in this way where we used to rely on the pull cord, and actually that is only as good as the person who's able to grab it, right?
That's true.
And so when technology steps up and really fills this place that wasn't there before and is saving lives, literally, I love to see that.
Absolutely. It's awesome.
Now, another technology that I'm just such a fan of is using something like an Alexa as a voice assistant. Now, I've been teaching for years that the sooner an older adult can start using Alexa for texting, for just extracting and receiving information, the better, because as we age, we lose dexterity in our fingers.
Oh, yes.
And we also, our eyesight diminishes as well. And so the sooner someone can start using a voice assistant to help them and assist them, the better. And I want to talk now about Alexa smart properties and what, in your opinion, in your experience, has been the most common way that residents are using Alexa to maintain their independence.
I mean, that's just it. Really, truly, they're able to do because they're able to do and initiate whatever action it is through that voice command. That is the definition of independence. They don't have to say, go to my front desk and say, hey, what is the weather going to be today? Or what does this say? Or what does that say? Because they can't read the text. It's not big enough. It's it's the wrong color. It's not contrast enough. They have them so that way they can talk to them and they can talk back. Now, you can adjust the volume. You have the companionship. Throughout the years, Alexa has definitely grown and developed, and I've definitely seen more and more Alexas going into resident apartments, all the way down, just come down to even the connection part. The being able to for them to be able to see their grandkids in their apartments whenever they want at the drop of a dime, really helps keep them feeling like this is still home. I don't have to lose out on anything. I'm not going to be forgotten here. Like I'm still here. The thing about senior living at this point, this is their home. We want them to feel like they're not downgrading, they're upgrading to something that's more meaningful and purposeful around their lives to promote that independence. So truly, the Alexa, the level of connection that it brings to the seniors, along with the simplicity, not being able to turn on a lamp. That's a real thing that my residents are confronted with. They can't twist the knob. But if you get the smart bulb that goes with the Alexa, say, Alexa, turn on my dining room light or turn on my bedroom light. Less tripping hazards, less falls, and just a lot more safety and still promoting that independence. They're still able to do. They don't have to call someone to turn that light on.
Right. They also don't have to call someone to find out if the mail has arrived. Has the mail arrived? That might be the number one question of the day. Is the mail here yet? So I know it sounds so it's funny, but it's a major concern and a time stopper as well, right?
It is.
I want to shift and talk about some more a more fun application like the Wii effect,
Yes.
for instance. Was that something that really took you by surprise that so many residents just gravitated towards it?
Oh my gosh. The Wii systems, I always thought they were fun personally. And then to have them at work now and the residents, it's allowing, especially the Wii Sports, it's allowing them to reconnect in ways that they aren't physically able to do so now. We have our residents, our this generation, they love bowling. They love golfing. So now they're able to still continue to do Wii bowling or Wii golfing or tennis or whatever, and still have that fun and that level of competitiveness. Just because they're 80, 90 years old doesn't mean they're not competitive. Doesn't mean they like winning. Don't like winning. Doesn't mean they want to, be contestants in something. At my other property that I was at in Merrill, we actually had a bowling tournament with our residents. We had, I think it was 5 or 6 different Wii systems set up and screens at the same time. It was a whole bowling league. It was literally a bowling league in my activities room with about, I think we had a maximum of like 30 residents. It was somewhere between 25 and 30 residents. They had a knockout tournament, and they just did this every night for so long. And it's just that camaraderie that they built. We even bought them pizza one night, and for the big tournament, the big finale. And they really just engaged. And then we kind of spurred from that and talking about the Wii into more of the newer technology and utilizing the Meta or the Oculus, whatever you want to call it now. That has been, that in and of itself was amazing as well, because then we had our residents going to the house that they were born in and showing the other families and residents that are in the apartments, hey, look, this is where I grew up, or this is what I did. This is the street that I used to play on, or the park I used to be by, or hey, let's go visit Rome. And being able to kind of see those things and interact that way. And then the one person having the headset on their eyes, and then the others watching the screen behind. It's just an experience that a lot of them didn't think they'd ever be able to see or be able to enjoy, but they have all their friends around and they can, and they are. So it's just been super awesome to be able to share that with the families and the residents themselves.
I love that. And I'm starting to think, is it because something like we is intuitive for an older adult to use? Is it the way it's set up that makes it so easy for someone to use?
I do. I mean, realistically, you're just going through the same relative motions, not as technical, but you're moving. I mean, movement is the lotion of life. It keeps you. You got to keep moving in order to be able to keep your body flowing and working the way that it's supposed to. So when our residents are having that sedentary lifestyle because it's difficult for them to get around and to move all the time, it's super important to have fun events for them to kind of really attach and get their blood flowing. So it's double-sided. I mean, it just really gets their blood flowing, it gets them moving and shaking, and then really it gets their body remembering old stuff. It's like, hey, I used to bowl all the time, and this is what I do. I go like this. And they don't have to be super technical with it and doing the spins and all that. It just makes it a lot easier.
I love it. So often when I'm talking with innovators and like they love their technology, but sometimes they miss out on that piece, which is the user experience, right? Like they fall so much in love with what their tech is as opposed to who they're helping. And so when you find a piece of technology that is super easy to use, then it is a game changer. One thing that I've heard over the years is people say, this is so simple. It's like one, 2, 3, plug and play. But for an older adult, like it's never plug and play. Like that to me always like sends up red flags because it's really requires education around the technology.
Yeah. I mean, some of our seniors didn't even have real typewriters. They're the typewriters that they have today. I mean, like there's the level of technology that they may or may not have been exposed to growing up is pretty astronomically different than today, obviously. And even from high school to today, when I was a kid in high school, I started a technology group for seniors. Actually, it was called STAR, Students Technology Responsible and Aware and Responsible. And I would go out into the neighborhood and we would invite seniors in to learn different things. Now, fast forward 10 years later, we were doing that in my community. We had a local high school have their students come in and teaching our residents how to use iPhones, how to do this, how to do that, because you're absolutely right. The user experience, as easy as it is for us that deal with this stuff all the time, yeah, plug and play, cool. But for our residents, they some of them genuinely don't have a concept. So to be able to have that break down that time and just making sure that it's easy and really showing them the what behind the why and how, it does help a lot, as opposed to just kind of assuming that it's working. So that program was awesome to be able to implement for our seniors back down in Fort Myers.
So pleased to hear that. This has really been in your heart for such a long time. At the Smarter Service, this is truly our mission, which is to provide a tech concierge at every senior living community that can answer these type of questions for the residents in a patient and compassionate and safe way. And so, one thing that we've been able to do is really professionalize this experience. I love the intergenerational opportunity with a high schooler, but it's sometimes not always the same person or not a vetted person, right? And
Yes.
so with the Smarter Service, we have vetted, qualified the same person every time,
That's
helping
awesome.
an older adult and also teaching, right? Because what we've found is that an older adult is such a traditional learner, right? Like
Oh my
they
gosh,
want
yes.
to learn things from the bottom up. Like they want a basic foundation about
Yes.
how their device works. What are all the buttons called? And then from there they start to build upon that. It's part of that digital divide and the gap that we see over and over and over again, and we keep talking about because we want to close that gap as much as possible.
I think one of the kind of to play off of that simply is that a lot of the generation they built, they used, right? I mean, they literally would construct. I mean, some of these built their own houses. So because they literally would go from the ground up for processes, technology, it's super complicated, and there's a whole lot behind the scenes, and to kind of to use that old learning pattern and method and implement it with technology, there's a lot of roadblocks when it comes. So absolutely kind of utilizing your services and having that a consistent person assisting somebody is going to give you the absolute best results possible. So I definitely, that's 100%.
Love that. I want to shift now and talk a little bit about the engagement platform.
Yeah.
Having been in senior living now just a mere 8 years, I have seen what a huge benefit it is to have an engagement platform. I know that during COVID, there were some communities that didn't have that. They didn't really have that in place, and they struggled. Like the struggle
Mhm.
was huge with the paper copies and taping them to people's doors, and it's just really,
Yes.
really a huge challenge. And I'm sure there are some communities today that are still in that boat. How
Mhm.
has your resident engagement platform, how does it act as sort of like the digital town square when it
Yeah.
comes to things like digitizing your activity calendar, your menu, for instance?
Mhm. Yeah, so with this generation, obviously, it's hard to get away from the paper, but because the generation's children are pretty digital, having them connected with the entertainment and the activities program has been integral in making sure that we're leveraging the most out of it. We're getting the most feedback out of it. Hey, mom doesn't like this, mom doesn't like that, and also allows us to track things. So throughout my tenure, I've used Touchtown, I've used Sagely. When it was Sagely, I've used LifeLoop. I've used a lot of different platforms. I mean, truly, if you leverage them appropriately, they are all wonderful in their own right. And when it comes, you really information is key today. Information is at everyone's fingertips, and so we all want it. We all want it quickly. And these platforms allow their families to stay connected in what their loved ones are doing day to day. What we have currently, we can do attendance tracking. We can say, oh no, yes, your mom went to this activity and this activity, but she's telling me she didn't do anything. No, see, look, here are the pictures. And so the residents, the families can go onto the app, they can look at the pictures, they can see their loved ones having fun, they can, and see what they are attending. And in fact, when mom says, oh, I didn't do that, I didn't do anything today, nope, I saw you played bingo today, did you win anything? It really does help.
I love how you keep bringing this back to the families. It's really a unique perspective and one uh, that most people don't talk about. And so I want to focus on this for just a minute. So
Mhm.
you have found that the technology is really allowing the families to tap into what their loved one is doing on a day-to-day basis, both safety-wise and activities, right?
I mean, absolutely. The reality is that I would say through the years I've been doing this, maybe 10-15% of the residents are the ones looking for themselves. Majority of the time, it's the loved ones saying, hey, mom, dad, I live out of state. I'm not there to help you. I can't do it. I need to feel safe with you somewhere. Okay. So sometimes this is a give and take relationship with the families and the loved ones, and just making sure that that their children feel that they're safe. So because that their guilt, half the time there's a lot of guilt involved with that, because a lot of times you just want to stay at home. But really truly connecting the families, making sure that they feel safe and secure, it just helps promote longevity, and they know their loved one the most. So when they're dealing with them and they're interacting with them and they're seeing the positive change, they can see the benefit of what we're doing for their loved one, and truly they can get the full benefit of what we do.
One thing that I wanted to ask you about, as you're mentioning, that the families are checking in, is like, I found that this tends to be sort of more Florida specific, because we have a lot of retirees going to Florida, but their family usually doesn't live there. Have you found that as well, that having like a robust tech stack in a state like Florida is allowing families to have that peace of mind?
I mean, let's be real. We all want to be connected with our family as much as possible. And when you're in a community-based setting, then there's more helping hands to kind of keep us connected. I mean, I can tell you, I relocated to Florida. I'm originally from Philadelphia. There's a lot of people that I don't necessarily connect with unless it's through internet, phone, technology, something along those lines. And when you don't have it's always very different when you can't see somebody face to face, and it's just that phone call conversation. So really, truly, the families are the driving force. Half the time they're helping finance it as well. So that everybody has to see the value. None of what we do, what we offer, is inexpensive. It is all expensive. The level of expense is different, varies from place to place, but the value has to be there. And that connection, I believe, is integral, important, super important when it comes to making sure that that value is there. So, I mean, that's all that I want to stay connected to my family as much as possible. So really, truly, how can I be involved?
But do you see a difference, for instance, between a resident that's living in Florida and a resident
Mm.
that's living in Pennsylvania?
Yes, absolutely. Because usually the family's there. Now, we do have a good amount of family that do visit, that are around, that are here, but the ones that are far, I mean, I can tell you, in my tenure in Pennsylvania, I never had family fly in to help place their loved one. Um,
Okay.
I've had, I mean, in just a few months, I've had multiple families. I just yesterday met with a family whose son flew in from Massachusetts. Last week, I met someone who flew in from Maine, and they're flying down here to kind of get their loved ones situated and settled, because they refuse to move back home or back to where they were. They're going to be here, and their family's just trying to abide by those wishes. So absolutely, because the children are trying to stay connected, trying to stay in their lives, and trying to honor their wishes safely and not force them to move back and not control them, down here in Florida, being able to kind of connect and keep that digital connection is super important down here. I feel.
I want to shift now and just talk about Yardi, which is
Mhm.
like the operational backbone of managing a property, everything from finance to clinical records. So, how does a single source of data in Yardi improve the actual care a resident receives?
Yeah, so actually for us here at Merrill, we actually utilize it even with as our CRM. So I'm using it as a salesperson all the way through to the care sides. So all of those notes are accessible, available. The background that I get, that I'm kind of sourcing out from my discovery, from whatever, if there's a referral agency that's giving me a background, all of that information, it's all great data, so that way we can make sure that we're trying to personalize that care as best as we can. The hardest part of getting somebody acclimated is really learning their idiosyncrasies and understanding what makes them them. No resident is treated the same, because we're all different in our own respect. So our goal is to cater to them. So the more we learn from them, from the beginning of process all the way through. Now, when it comes to the billing part, they can see what's going on. They're like, okay, they could have the ability to be able to talk to the families and work through whatever issues there are. Oh, this care level change on this date, and knowing what's going on. So again, all of the stuff's communicating and just that continuity of information. So that way we all are on the same page. My care team, they have the ability to document in real time. So that way, as our staff are going throughout their day, they can say, oh, I was in Mrs. Jones' apartment at this time. And there's a record of those times and they're in the apartments. And look, maybe there's a pattern. And when we do our 6-month reeval, we're looking at all those notes, seeing what's going on, and kind of just seeing how everything's connected and can we do better? Can we be better? And how is that? Because we can always be better. So what can we kind of hone in on and focus in on? So having that one platform that goes from beginning to end truly just helps with that continuity of service. And just it's less of a chance for the ball being dropped when it comes to those holes that can happen when you're talking to different programs that don't talk to each other.
Yeah, it's sort of like what I mentioned earlier about having that one consistent person
Yes.
there to answer questions. Because what we found also is like when there isn't a point person to answer tech questions, for instance, and the resident goes to various different people, sales and marketing, front desk, maintenance, right? Who knows? And but having one person helps have a united front with
Yes.
whatever your safety and security protocols are. I want to shift now and just talk about some of the future and how you future cast this, and what would you say is really the next frontier of technology you're looking to integrate, or you'd be looking to integrate in a senior living community?
I mean, I feel like the virtual reality side of it is highly underused. And I think that can really bring a level of connection even further and understanding for our residents. I think that
Do you mean something like Rendeavor?
I'm not familiar with Rendeavor.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. But I mean, I'm saying is even as simple as like the Meta Quest, just even implementing those things. But I know there are more products out there that are just more intuitive, easier to use. But personally, I haven't had the opportunity to kind of go down that road. But from the little bits I've seen when it comes to virtual reality and what that can really accomplish, I mean that's what I'm really looking forward to. AI is wonderful. It's great. It's great for the predictive stuff. But I guess for me it's how we can connect. The connection part of it is really truly what's kind of pushes me forward.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, Brian, we have covered so many topics. And if anyone wants to connect with you to find out more information about what you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can reach me just through LinkedIn. The address is right there at the bottom. Please feel free, connect with me, direct message me there, and I will definitely connect and give you whatever resource I have. I love to chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. And for those of you who are chiming in as participants, we love that. You make my day. I'm super thrilled anytime you suggest topics and guests. So I want to invite you to do that and reach out to me anytime. And we will see you right back here next week. Bye.